So what's up? I'm not sure if the mic is even loud enough, but let me fix that really quick. Let me fix that before I get into um this review. Let me see. For some reason, noise suppression. All right, there we go. So I'm not sure if my mic is louder, but I wanted to get into this anime review. Today we're going to be talking about uh Shingeki no Kyojin, fucking rip off of Godzilla. Anyways, so all these reviews, they're just giving it tens. They're not saying like anything. They're not pointing out the flaws. They're not pointing out the good. They're just saying, "Oh my God, it was so interesting. We need a sequel. This is the greatest thing ever." They're not really giving real reviews. Now, I have a page right here, and this guy shares very similar uh very similar thoughts about Attack on Titan. I've read the manga. I've watched reviews. I read the manga up to like what season two, and then I just stopped because it wasn't interesting to me. But I've watched a lot of videos, a lot of reviews, good and bad on the show. The good, they really just say the same thing over and over again. The bad, they actually give context and give different I guess criticism. Criticism is always needed in order for a story or a show or anything to progress. How do you think basketball players get better? For example, Kobe mentions that, you know, his haters drive him to get better. But that's just an example. But anyways, so now what I would like to address is that what I discuss, like with people that I know in a group is that like in this show, not only is the pacing very awkward, but there's a lot of where's the where is the so here we go 8.8. There's a lot of Deus ex machinas that create plot devices. I mean, it all starts from season one. There's nothing new about Attack on Titan. This is nothing new. It all starts from season one. Um, so basically, a plot device is basically something that like okay, something that basically keeps the plot going, but Attack on Titan instead of it keeping the plot going with good flow and pacing, it just like okay, an example of season one is like okay, Armin somehow knows that okay, when Annie screams, the the Titans will rally towards her, you know, like he's overly smart and he just somehow knows that without having any prior information. Now, we know Armin's smart, but that's like over the top. I have broken abilities to foresee the future smart. Like that but that's just an example. You could treat it as like a oh that's just, that's nothing important. Well, I mean, another point I would like to make is like okay, people like to say and I'm not even gonna go on Levi's character development right now, but people like to say that okay, um, Levi is an Ackerman, right? So he can do all these special abilities, right? Like what he did to the Beast Titan in season three, part two, right? Now my question is, because this is a plot device of Deus Ex Machina and bad writing, why and how did Levi get an ankle sprain? And don't say oh because he was distracted. Well, literally, like he's done more dangerous things. And yes, it was out of rage and adrenaline pumping, I guess you could say, quote unquote. But this is a cartoon, a kid show. Not a cartoon, but an anime, a kid show, because it's catered towards 13 and up. But, anyways, he did all that stuff without a single injury, but he gets an injury back in season one, spraining his ankle. And it's not for the reason you think. It's not because he was distracted. The reason why they took Levi out of season one and throughout most of season two is because Levi was so broken that if Levi would have fought Annie at the end of season one instead of it being Aaron, because season one just contains mindless thought and just action, 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 right? Just stuff happening everywhere. Then Levi would have just destroyed Annie and it wouldn't have been any competition. Aaron, it was kind of like, okay, he was keeping up with her. He was kind of winning at one point too. She had to crystallize, right? But that's just that's just one plot inconvenience or plot convenience of inconveniency for a plot device. This guy talks about the monologues, how it's long and shitty. I'm not gonna get into that, but I will get into another point: broken power system. Now, I feel like every Attack on Titan character, the power people like to complain about like shows like Dragon Ball, Naruto, how power scaling is bad. I mean, literally not a single main character. And I mean, I don't mean like okay, we get introduced to a character, they get killed off. Um, no, that's a pacing problem when you get introduced to a character and they don't develop the character, they don't give us time to actually feel bad for the character or care about the character, and then like Irwin just dies off out of nowhere. Like, okay, I did not care at all. I honestly didn't care. But anyways, I mean, this show has broken, just absolutely broken power ups. So much plot armor in this show. No main character ever dies. I mean, a good example is I was watching this one review today, and it was just talking about season two. And this guy pointed, well, it wasn't even this guy that pointed out the scene, but it was the scene that was because he was displaying it on the screen, and I was just watching it again, and I was like, well, how is this supposed to be such a crisis of a scene? Like when Aaron, I guess he couldn't turn into a Titan at the time. I forgot what the scene is called in the episode, but he it was in season two. You understand what I'm talking about? He couldn't turn into a Titan at the time, and then next thing you know, I mean, like no character gets hurt, no character gets injured, no character dies except the character that really nobody cared about, nobody really knew or talked about. It's just a side character. Not even the only time they've killed off like an I guess you can technically say it's a main character, quote unquote, not really a main character because if you look on my anime list, it says that these characters are supporting characters. Is characters in season four. It took them 4 seasons just to kill off a supporting character. Not a single main character has died. There's so much plot armor in the show. I would like to point out, and then moving on to another point. So we covered uh, plot devices or Deus Ex Machinas. Look that word up if you don't know what that means. And then the power scaling. Okay, so the second point, the power scaling goes into the first point that this guy made, how everybody and anybody can survive. You can read this yourself. I will highlight it for you for it to be easy to read. You can pause and read this. But I mean, when I read that, I was like, wow, that's so true. Because like this guy actually shares a similar opinion to me. And criticism is not a bad thing. Don't take it as a bad thing. Criticism is, oh, I want you to get better. I want you to improve. I want you to, because I actually like Attack on Titan, and I liked it. I thought it had potential in season one. I mean, you had your generic main character, which I really didn't like. You just, it had a lot of flaws, right? It had no real storytelling. Then season two is like, okay, bad pacing. It's supposed to be slow, right? And they took 4 years on season two. It's supposed to be slow and give us better storytelling, but it actually feels rushed, and we just get introduced to these characters left and right, and then it's like, okay, we don't care about these characters, and then it just prepares you for season three. And that's how it is. And it's just some mindless chase scene that happens for like 6 episodes plus out of 12 episodes. And then people say that's good pacing, that's good writing. But I mean, it's just mindless dialogue. The characters are speaking with each other. The Berto and Reiner reveal was not only obvious, but I mean, it didn't have any real build up. It's not like we got like yes we got hints that okay they were being shady, but it's like give the audience something to look forward to, then expose it. Don't just we're the colossal and armor titan like and then and then the fucking music starts playing and then oh okay quote unquote hype scene, which the scene is very heavily overhyped. The world building in AOT is not as nonsensical, is not a nonsensical mess. I'm not gonna touch on that because, well, actually I am. In season three, in season one, I feel like the world building should have just been okay. Nobody, we're not gonna fight. They're not gonna do the Deus Ex Machina. Main character fights fire with fire. He's not gonna turn into a Titan. Next thing you know, he turns into a Titan, right? Um, but yeah, hopefully, I was thinking like, okay, they don't do that, and then they just okay, they just strategically fight these titans. They give us good storytelling, good characters. The pacing is like well written. Like, okay, you got fight scenes here of them strategically fighting the titans and then planning it out. It moving forward with the characters, it developing as characters. We didn't get any of that, and then like it could have been like a deep plot in terms of like okay how are we gonna how are we gonna locate to a different just it could have been anything else, but I mean that's just off the top of my head. But it extended into this okay, um season 3 we're on an island. Well, I mean, and then this goes back to question 6, or not question 6, but point 6. Shitty long monologues. The whole season 1 and 2 felt like a monologue because of this. Because it's like, okay, well, what was the point of season 1 and season 2? In fact, what is the point of this show? Because it's like, okay, right? They're trapped on this island. Their government set them there to fail are like what is the point? They're just gonna okay, Aaron's just pissed off at the government and now he's just gonna go kill them and then do what he thinks is righteous. Not only is he a Nazi leader, but that's not the point. The point is like this this fucking like show is supposed to be set around just a danger setting. They set their people up to fail, yet their people come out clutch every single time. Not a single character dies that is actually important. And then people like to talk about plot armor and Dragon Ball Z and how I mean literally Goku has died more times than a character has died in Attack on Titan. And it's just sad. Like, yes, you can bring people back with the Dragon Balls, but that's not the point. Dragon Ball Z is just a nostalgic. Like, I like the show because it's nostalgia to me. But anyways, um, so I covered most of the points and they kind of link with each other. So Deus Ex Machinas, world building, monologues, number 6, 2, 1, we covered that. Okay, so this is one of the biggest ones. One of the biggest ones. And I kind of covered this, but I'll go more into detail. So the show bases its whole story on the mystery box. And this isn't the only review. I've read good reviews. I've read the 10 out of 10. Like I said, they didn't go fully in depth. They didn't really have much meaning to the review, but it's just technically better than the okay, so he's saying the show bases its whole story on the quote unquote mystery box. Now, the mystery box is like, okay, nobody, and what Attack on Titan does is that it relies on shock factor. It doesn't give you good storytelling in terms of like it actually one thing that Attack on Titan does decently, and I don't want to seem biased, so I'm just gonna say this: it does foreshadowing decently well. It doesn't really give you ground information and then build off that ground information. It kind of just flips from scene to scene and then you just learn bits by bits, which can be a good thing, but how it's portrayed in Attack on Titan, and I'm not trying to sound smart, but how it's portrayed in Attack on Titan with the whole mystery box thing is that they keep unveiling things and it just quote unquote the plot keeps getting deeper and bigger and better, which is not. It just becomes more political, and they're going nowhere with the plot. Like it's just like two government parties fighting, senators versus, um, you know, legislators, and it's just going nowhere. Like honestly, where is the story going? I don't know. The characters are heavily underdeveloped. That's what I wanted to talk about. Another thing I wanted to talk about. I can probably do a full video, um, more details explaining the mystery box, but I kind of explained it with the world building and the monologues, and I can give a full detailed video on that. Conjuring up, I would have to. I don't want to read like I don't want to have to buy the manga to read the manga because I don't support the series like that. I'm not invested in the series, but if I was, then I would buy the manga. Um, but anyways, um, so I covered two, three. The characters have no. Okay, this is a great one. So when he says the characters have no control over the events of the show, he basically means that shit just happens for no reason. Like literally, like a character could do something dumb and just set off a reaction. Like it's like a reaction chain. Like have you ever heard of the mouse? I think it's called like the mouse effect, or it's something like that. Where um a perfect example of the mousetrap effect is like Final Destination, how you set one thing off and then everything just goes to crap, right? So, I mean, none of the basically what he's saying is none of the characters ever drive the plot forward and ever like have control over something. It's just like, okay, they're just stuck in this crappy situation. They do dumb things to never get themselves out. Um, no matter what happens, they will never choose what to do next. The plot is going to force them into what to do next. That's not really important. It makes sense for the stories that had to do with death and survival, but it also pass and drawn, progress and further develop. Okay, so unable to progress and further develop. Like I said, they have no. The only thing that carries the show, like he said, despite their hacks and superpowers, this takes away their significance. I mean, literally, the only time, a character has control, I guess you could say, quote unquote control, which he even still with their superpowers, because we know Aaron is busted. He gets all the superpowers. He has Deus Ex Machina. He has hella plot armor. The show has dumb plot armor. He never has control. He's just always dumb, making dumb decisions, and he doesn't change. The Okay, Levi has more character development than Aaron. And Reiner. I won't touch on Reiner because I don't really know much about Reiner yet. I will have to, like I said, read more about it. But Aaron literally has zero character development. The only thing that he has that changes him in his life is trauma and memories and flashbacks from things that he remembers. That's the only thing that changes him. That's not character development. That's not okay. We're going deep into this character. We're seeing how he got here. No, they just gave us a flashback, and then his dad let him eat him. Like it's not like it's not like they set up the character like, okay, we're gonna develop this character. We're gonna see how they are. No, he's just your typical hothead. He comes out, he has all the broken abilities. Like, yeah. But anyways, Levi, I think it was season 2 or 3, maybe end of season 2, season 3, first half, where he gets developed, quote unquote development, right? His character development is just a boring black backstory, a generic backstory of him being poor. That's one. Um, Edgy, not really edgy. He was just a little kid, just poor, and just alone. I mean, it's like we've seen that backstory plenty of times, right? That's not the bad thing though. The bad thing is when people say, "Oh, that's great character development," but he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just a bland, boring character that has barely any dialogue and shows up to every fight when the time is needed. That's not good character development because you give a character some backstory and then say, oh, well, he went from rags to riches without telling us how he actually went. You know what I mean? Like without showing us anything, like or just give it, making us care about the character. We don't even people don't even care about Levi because they're like the only people who really care about Levi is people who like how he looks. Like is the only time like people don't even care about Levi so much because they know, okay, this character's not gonna die. I don't have to worry about him. That, that's how crazy it is. That's how crazy the plot armor is. That's how crazy the. I mean, literally, he's just a copy character of like plenty anime shows. Just that edgy character. You know what I mean? Like he's just that Sasuke. He's and to me, he's just a Sasuke ripoff. Now, I could name better characters, but off the top, Sasuke, right? Okay. Um, the show and the plot progression are all over the place. At first, it is a service serviceable, mindless horror survival action. Then it becomes a clown ass political thriller whose world building deals with hilariously convoluted twists and silly conspiracy theories. Now, this is so true. Like I said, Attack on Titan literally relies on shock factor and plot twist to not only keep the viewer in, especially young viewers or people who just aren't invested in like reading books because I've read books, you know, throughout my life and I've gotten more I've I've what is the word I'm looking for? Um it's all off the top too. I've desensitized my ignorance towards reading books, knowing what good character development is, pacing, all that, right? Throughout the years. I'm 18. I'm still progressing. But anyways, these types of shows, especially shonen, this show tries to be seinen, but it's just a shonen with edge and gore, which is supposed to be more adult, adulterinate, adulteranized, right? And cater towards adults. I don't even know if I said that right, but it just doesn't have the storytelling or the plot to do it. Like it literally has lackluster plot. Now you can have a different opinion, but overall, it's just my criticism. Um, I'm not saying it's fact, but what people have to realize is that not everything is an opinion. It's like if something is bad, it's like okay, the st- you know an example is like okay, we know fire burns, right? And we know it's hot, so it's not that it's not hot to one person or is not as hot to one person as it is to another, which can I guess you can say is true, but either way it will burn you, right? So what I'm saying is like this series, it may not be good to one person, but it may be good to another, but that doesn't mean it's actually good. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but it needs some work. That's what I'm saying. It needs criticism to allow the author to look at all the comments and all the feedback so he can provide better content, right? Um and yeah, it just relies on this plot twist and and overly hype shock factor in order to keep the viewer not only coming in because season 2 not only did season 3 you guys thought season 3 left with a cliffhanger which it did even more than season 2, but season 2 literally only was there to set itself up for season 3, which is not a bad thing. That's actually good. But how it turned out and how it did it, it's like you waited 4 years, right? It didn't end off with like an actual ending. It just set up for abysmal, right? Season 2 was just it wasn't that good and you waited so many years and it just set up for the next season. And then the next season set up for the next season. It wasn't even like it's not consistent. It's like, okay, is every season just gonna keep setting up for the next season? Is season 4 gonna be rushed because they're just capping all these episodes? Like you have to really think of these things. Now, I I want to shout out Harmon Twain. I don't know if I'm saying that right, But thanks for your review. Thank you all for your reviews. I've read most of these. I read the tens. Uh, all these people, like I said, the they don't really go too in depth. Maybe this guy, he goes in depth. I haven't read this one yet, but I've read quite a few of the reviews, and I want to shout out all these people for giving their feedback. I I'm very passionate about like just a lot of things. I've invested myself in a lot of things. Whether it's sports, just hobbies. You know what I mean? Like comics, books, manga, anime, shows, fiction, um, anything, media, right? And even movies, especially movies that I'm catered like that. I'm already catered towards the series. Transformers, for example. I'm a very My time is catered into Transformers. Um, or I'm invested. That's the right word to say. But yeah, like you know, to sum everything up, you have to treat it as like, okay, take it with a grain of salt. Don't have high expectations. Like for the Transformers films, I don't have high expectations. I like them because it's my favorite Transformers, right? On the big screen. But I know that the comic books and some of the original cartoons do it better. It's just that's just a fact. You know, Not everybody's gonna be perfect. Michael Bay's not the perfect director slash uh, producer or author. He isn't really the author, but he pays writers, which a movie producer should do. But yeah, I mean, just take everything with a grain of salt. I hope to do more reviews. Um, this one was kind of quick. I didn't really have this planned. I didn't have notes, but I just wanted to rant. That's what I like to do. I like to just talk about stuff. You know what I mean? I think it's just fun. I have a passion for it. So yeah, thank you.